Even after Elle turned off her phone, the calls to her family kept coming. Now that's creepy.
Just last week, a judge ruled against the NSA phone data program. Orders upheld. Where do all these recordings go? We decided to investigate.
I'm back and with another scary but true story. Before I jump into the story, I do want to say one thing, that when I read these stories, I'm not going to be revealing the families or the victims or anyone's real names. I feel like it's a little disrespectful. So in every story that I read, I'm just going to make up a random name. That was probably just one little announcement that I have. And I also wanted to add that I am sorry for some of these families who do go through these tragic events. I don't want anyone to think that I am doing any of this out of humor or doing it to gain some sort of publicity. I am just simply telling their stories. With no further ado, let's jump right into this story. The Phone Stalker. In February 2007, 3 families, including the Els family, started receiving strange phone calls from an unknown source. It all started when Elle's phone, the daughter of the family, started acting weird and sending text messages to her friends and family. It was odd but didn't seem too alarming at the time. The family chalked it up to interference or a glitch by the cell phone carrier. Makes sense. Things took an alarming turn. However, when Elle's family received numerous threatening calls, these calls included death threats towards the lives of her family, pets, and grandparents. Naturally concerned, the family alerted the authorities. The police listened to the calls and tried to determine where they were originating from. Okay. It's easy to think that this was a dark prank by someone with nothing better to do than make threatening and harassing phone calls. When the trace came back, the phone calls seemed to originate from Elle's phone, which is the daughter. Understandably, many people thought the whole situation was a hoax. But why would someone threaten her own family? Even if it wasn't Elle, it could have been a simple case of Elle's phone data being intercepted, stolen, and hacked. It's possible that the online security of her phone was compromised, even on a home Wi-Fi network. However, the creepy thing was, even after Elle turned off her phone, the calls to her family kept coming. Now that's creepy. It continued to escalate, but now the phone calls and messages were also coming from other family members' phones. These phones would also turn on all by themselves, and the ringtones and the phone settings would constantly change. In addition to threatening calls, the family started to suspect their everyday activities were being monitored through their phones. The mysterious caller would be able to identify specific clothes they were wearing. They could also identify who was in the house and which family members were away. The Els took numerous security measures, such as installing a home security system. Shortly after, they received a voicemail saying, "I know the security code." They also turned off all the phones in the house. However, the mysterious caller was able to remotely power on the phones that had been turned off. Boy. The police were involved numerous times. On one visit, they received a voicemail of the conversations at the house, including a recorded conversation with police. Oh my god. You might be wondering why the Els didn't just replace the phones and change providers. They did so 3 times. Each time they would shortly receive a new message from the caller. The phone calls, messages, and strange phone behavior continued every night for 4 months before it suddenly stopped. No one was ever caught. Now, it might have been some elaborate hoax created by the family. However, they weren't the only ones. 2 other families on the street had similar stories. These families did know each other, but would all of them choose to make things up as a team? I don't think so. Phone companies insisted the stalking couldn't be possible. While the local police were dumbfounded by the calls, they had no leads and had little idea how the caller could accomplish this. The police even investigated the family themselves. They had taken Elle's phone away from her, yet the calls continued. So what could be a reasonable explanation? There is something called spoofing. Ooh, that sounds spooky. Which allows a hacker to manipulate or conceal the phone number when calling. It's what may have enabled the caller to make the messages appear that they originated from Elle's phone. But they switched their phones too. I'm sure they switched their phone numbers. I don't know. Let's continue. Disturbingly enough, it is not that difficult to spoof a phone. The only way to stop someone from doing this is to have up-to-date phone security software or use a VPN service to hide your IP address. However, spoofing doesn't allow someone to change the settings of the phone. To do this, the caller would have to remotely hack the phone. This is called cloning, and creates a virtual copy of the victim's phone, giving the caller the same access to Elle's phone as she had. But even spoofing and cloning a phone still wouldn't allow someone to record conversations and turn the phone off. This would involve directly hacking the carrier to gain access to these conversations. Not an easy task if this was a hack. It was highly elaborate for this all to happen in such a brief period. You must wonder why someone would want to do this to an everyday suburban family. What do you think of these calls? Do you think it was an elaborate hoax by the families or some malicious hacker? If it was a hacker, how do you think they did it? Tell us your thoughts in the comment section below. Where do I even begin with that? To be honest, I really don't believe that the families would even go that far. I don't see what they get out of terrorizing themselves and getting the police involved and then going through the process of buying 3 different phones. And I really don't believe that the family members did it. If this person was a hacker, they somehow found a way to get access to the company's phone, congratulations. Or unless a person already works in the building, I can see where that's coming from. Or this could just be completely paranormal. I mean, if those questions aren't answered, I would have to go with paranormal. So right here it says, no suspect was ever found. The cell phone company didn't think technology to hijack a phone existed at the time. I was thinking the same thing, like 2007, it must have been a lot more difficult to hijack or hack into a phone at that time. And it says, however, security experts said a phone could have been hijacked by using spyware. The police thought that the family could have been making the story up, of course, but 2 other families in the town also reported similar problems with their cell phones. So yeah, this story is really left on a cliffhanger. I'm glad that it stopped. This is not just one family, it was 3 families that they were pretty much harassing. I'll just let the family members know now. Very sorry for what happened. No one should ever have to go through that. That is pretty much it for my creepy story. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. I'm gonna obviously do a lot more than this. I just have to dig deep into a lot more creepier stories. If you like it, you can give this video a thumbs up, and if you like me, you can subscribe to my channel, and I promise you, you won't regret it. Also, if you want to see more of me, you can go follow my social medias, which is, yes, don't even have to say it, my Snapchat and my Instagram. So, until next time, you guys, adios.